Hey y'all, I am back here with just a little tip. I want to talk a little bit about dealing with some behavioral issues, or how we kind of diagnose horses having behavioral issues, meaning that in most cases when a somewhat broke horse is bucking or being aggressive or kicking or doing those things, in lots of those cases, it's a physical issue. And some of the things that we always check, and I always check here at Lollipop when we get these horses in, are common places that would create behavioral issues. So the mouth is a huge one of those. If a horse has a broken tooth or sharp edges or ulcers in their mouth, it can cause a lot of issues, and not just being difficult to put a bit on or riding. I've seen many horses that had a pain in their mouth that would create them to buck or bolt or be scared. So one thing I always do is, first thing I do is make sure they're safe to be handled, but I'll just rub my hand all over Cheyenne's mouth. This is Cheyenne. She's a pretty little Palomino mare that came in on a case. Just make sure that they're okay with me touching her. And I'm going to try to see the best way I can show you here. But I'll make a pistol. My finger is going to go inside the corner of the mouth. I'm going to keep my finger against the inside of the cheek, making sure not to get bit. And I'm going to bring it up, and I'm going to rub my finger along the top edge of the teeth to feel if there's any points. So the first thing I want to do is just make sure that I can open that mouth. Okay, so you saw how she threw her head, and actually I always love to teach by mistakes. Whenever I usually do this, I open their mouth first here where my head is protected. You see how she's kind of slinging her head, and make sure she's okay at opening her mouth instead of standing in front of her like I just did. And as you saw, she threw her head, so I potentially could have gotten my nose rearranged. So I like to point that out. So I'm going to rub her. I'm going to take my finger in here, and I'm rubbing across the top of that edge. Now, she had her teeth done recently, so she's pretty smooth in there. If they have sharp edges on their teeth, they cause ulcers in the side of their mouth, and it can cause a lot of pain. Now, I can't get all the way back here, but this gives me a really good idea if their teeth have been done recently or if they've ever been done. So this is a really important thing, and it's a great place to start. If you get in there and they have lots of edges, you need to have the equine dentist or your vet come and straighten those out for you. Okay, next thing is, probably the next behavioral issue to me that causes a lot of problems is that we haven't diagnosed a horse with ulcers. Okay, ulcers come from a lot of reasons, generally stress, and it's just like us. It's just like the human. When we have ulcers, it causes pain in our stomach, and just like the horses, if they have ulcers, that pain, they can be reacting to that. So how would we maybe check for ulcers? I'm not a vet. This is just practicing what a lot of vets have done. So the first thing I'm going to do initially, and when I'm doing this, because if they were to have ulcers, they might be in pain when I do this, I want to make sure I'm not back by their butt in case they were to kick out. And Cheyenne has been known to kick out once or twice. So what I like to do is just rub them all over, let them know I'm there. I've got a hold of their head in case they were to kick. I can spin the butt that way. I'm going to just initially just take my hand and rub down the girth area. Okay, and I'm going to put a little bit more pressure. I'm aware that she potentially could reach back and bite me, so I've got her blocked a little bit, and I'm going to come down here. See how that kind of bothered her? See how she kind of reached back and tried to nip me when I did that? Now, that could just be a cinchy horse, but this is one place that we can find potentially be aware that there may be an ulcer problem. So I'm going to come down here, watch her. See, every time I go down there, she reacts. She swats her tail. So what this is telling me is that there is a chance that she has ulcers, or she's just really cinchy. We haven't saddled her yet, and I would go on to another process to get her ready for that. Another place I like to check for ulcers is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to rub my palm, and I'm going to come along that. See how she reached back there? So she definitely doesn't like it. Okay, so I'm just going to come back here. I hope you guys can see that. See how every time I did that, she reached back to nip? So she definitely has some things that are bothering there. And It doesn't mean that she has ulcers. It doesn't mean that their teeth are bad, but this is a starting place for us. So then we can reach out to our vet and say, you know, every time I touch my horse in these areas, they're very sensitive. If I ignore that and I throw a saddle on her and I hawk that saddle in, she may blow up. So I know there's a pretty good chance that if I take my cinch and pull this tight, she's already sensitive here. She's already let me know that. So hopefully that's a few little tips to looking into why behavior is happening. And if you're aware of this stuff, it will definitely help you down the road. Have a good one. We'll see you later.